All right, here we go. I think we're live. It says we're live. Whew, I'm always so nervous before we do these shows. Hang on a second. Let me catch my breath. Okay, guys, good morning. Welcome to Season 5, episode number 246 of Caliber Corner. I can't wait till we get to 270. That's going to be a good discussion. But anyway, today we're talking about the Saiga 12 and the Vepr 12 and Attack of the Clones, as I like to call it, as we're going to discuss some of the clone versions of those shotguns that are out there on the market. Should you consider buying one? What's some of the competition look like? What kind of prices are we talking about? And then also just clone firearms in general. You know, is your money better spent on the original version of that particular firearm, or are clones a safe bet, you know, when it comes to something like this, the Vepr and Saiga 12, or, you know, even other platforms of firearms. But before we get into that discussion, we're going to let a few people show up on the YouTube side. So let's go and get going. Let's get things started. Let's get this party ready to go. So off to my right here, we've got Single Shot. Single Shot, what are you doing? Where are you going today? What's up?
I am headed home after I deliver this load this afternoon. And I'm going to take a couple of days off when I get there. Things
You gonna do some shooting or what? You gonna hit the range?
Oh yeah,
What's the plan? Yeah.
I'm gonna open the range, and if my brother comes up, and he and I both will be shooting. But I'm gonna be doing some videos on a few of the firearms there that I'm gonna put on the table. I got to double check zero on a couple of them, and then zero the other ones.
Cool.
So
cool,
we're going to
cool.
have a little bit of stuff going on up there. It's supposed to be good weather up there too for the next few days, so
Okay.
that'll make things a lot easier to do. I got to do some chronographing. That's one thing I definitely got to start doing, and get some of the information off these weapons and the hand loads to see how they're going to work out. So far, so good with the ones that I've done. So.
Cool. Yeah, chronograph testing is actually fun. It's something that I just started doing about 2 years ago, and it's interesting what the differences are in the velocity when you change barrel lengths or you change different loads, and how the box compares to what the gun actually produces. And you got to understand, you know, the box results are going to be under perfect conditions, generally with like a max barrel length for that caliber, you know, something that probably might not even be practical for that caliber, you know, to get that velocity. But sometimes, you know, I'm surprised by ammo performance. It is kind of fun to do, though. You can learn a lot from that. Especially if you're hand loading.
Sure
hand loading. Yeah. Cool.
Sure can.
Well, I'm glad you're with us today. It's good to have you join us on the discussion. Yeah. All right. Also joining us down below here, we got Kingpin. Kingpin, what are you doing this morning? What's going on? How you doing, bud? You good?
Oh man, doing real good. I'm gonna drop a link to Defense Dad's latest video.
Oh yeah.
Real good topic. He talks about gun-free zones from a personal perspective. And also the production value is outstanding. Whoever edited this video should get a good paycheck for that, because he did a great job.
Well, he is actually highly trained in journalism, media, or visual arts, or something along those lines. He really he knocks it out of the park. His content's fantastic, but his editing, his lighting, he really works hard on those kinds of things. He's not just somebody that just sets it up and shoots. He, you know, works on the angles and the music and tries to make it a good video to watch, give you make it worth your time. You know, if you're going to take time out of your life to watch it, he definitely makes it worth it. And I'm not going to ruin the content of his video, so you guys do need to go watch it. But just remember something, guys. It's guns that don't kill people. It's gun-free zones that kill people. I just want to get that out there right now. So, so what you been up to, Kingpin? Are you staying busy or what? You doing any shooting? You going to the range? You pick up anything new lately? What you been up to? Might have stepped away from the phone. All right, Kingpin, we'll come back to you in a minute. Bitter taxpayers in the house. What are you doing, man? How's it going? You excited?
Yeah, I'm just thrilled. Having my first sips of Wide Awake Coffee Company Sea Salt Caramel Light Roast.
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Did I send you any of the Seattle roast or not? I don't know if I did.
No, I found this one on Amazon when I ordered two other coffees. I just threw it in there because they don't sell it at the stores locally in this area. But yeah, I did see that one. There was a dark roast, and you know, I don't like the dark roast. There's a lot. It seems like there's a lot more K cups.
Oh yeah.
But all right. I'm struggling for a descriptive word here, because I called it bitter. Maybe it's not bitter like my name, but my director, she said that it doesn't taste bitter to her. So it's what's a taste that's like bitter,
Let's say
but
it
not
has
as pungent.
an essence of dark chocolate. How's that sound? So it
An
isn't
essence of
necessarily it isn't IPA bitter. It isn't like pine trees and Christmas trees bitter, but it's it's just a little bit
like
more
cocoa bitter.
Well, even cocoa has kind of a sweetness to it, a natural sweetness to it. Do you notice that at all? It could be the caramel and the sea salt.
Maybe I don't. My director's shaking her head at me. Okay.
Well, you need. Well, first of all, you got to do it this. You got to do the
cocoa.
squib way, which means you need at least 3 cups, and you've got to let that 3rd cup cool down so you can really discover the character of the flavor. So people are probably watching this podcast like right now, like, what did I just get into?
Okay.
So for those of you that don't know, Bitter Taxpayer has another channel, and I'm not going to tell you what it's called, but he does fantastic coffee reviews, and so do I. And we really try to explore and examine different types of coffee to see if it's worth your buying dollar. So
all right. All right, the dark chocolate. See, this is the thing. When I've talked to you about some of these in the past, and you've kind of told me, then I suddenly start looking for it. If that makes any sense.
And I sent you an article on how to build your palate for coffee flavor perception. Did you read it?
No.
Did you look at that flavor color wheel I sent you? I sent you a wheel that has different varieties of coffee on it, different roast levels, and what flavor.
I said, "Oh, look, pretty colors."
I can't even hand it to you, and you don't know what to do with it.
I would be the student that passes with a D-.
I'll give you a C.
He's going to use that wheel to pick the paint color for his garage.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I'm feeling a bit bitter today. Let's go purple. Yeah, Anyway, so what have you been up to these days? Are you staying busy or what? Are you too busy?
I'm busy paying taxes.
Aren't we all? I know we're about 5 or 6 months out before I get to make my yearly payment, and I still look forward to that every year. But it's only 20% of my income. What do I care, right? Anywho, so let's just talk guns. All right, who's out there on the YouTube side? Who's out there? We've got YNH out there. We got New Jersey Outcast out there this morning. Is that New York Outcast's doppelganger? Or is there somebody else? Or is that actually Outcast posing as a person from New Jersey? Do you know? I don't know. We've got hunting and stuff with J&J out there, tacos and French fries. Tony York's with us today. Make sure you guys check out the New Watch podcast. Let's see, Kingpin's out there and over here. We got Mike out there. We got M. Gabriel in the house. Thomas Rees is out there. Bitter Taxpayer is just creating a firestorm out there in the chat right now. We got, let's see, who else is joining us? I guess I'm out there too, apparently. William Trader's watching today. And so let's just get into the discussion here. So first of all, let's just talk cloned firearms in general, all right, before we get into the specifics about the Saiga 12 and the Vepr 12. I don't have a lot to bring you guys today, except to say that I bought a clone of a Saiga/Vepr 12 gauge AK variant shotgun, and I'm going to be taking it out to the range soon, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit in case, because we have a habit of causing you to go out and buy stuff after you watch these episodes, and I'm always trying to prompt you ahead of time so you know what you're getting yourself into. Okay. So Kingpin, I want to start with you. What is your opinion on buying some sort of a cloned firearm, like going and getting a Gearson M92 instead of a real Beretta, or buying a 1911 that's not like a Colt or whoever made the original 1911? Kingpin, do you think you're kind of getting yourself into trouble by not buying the real deal, or do you think it's a safe bet buying a clone of a firearm? Would you buy a clone of a firearm?
Let's see, from my personal perspective, I wouldn't mind buying a clone. Not anything against the clone or pro clone or anything, but I'm going to fall back on my resources, which is you. And Squid.
Okay.
All my friends on the internet, I'm going to talk to them and be like, hey, what do you guys know about this, AK-47 clone? And then most likely somebody that I hang out with online is going to say it's either a piece of junk or it's good. And then I'll probably get the one guy like Rob D that says it's not made by M&P.
Yeah. Hang on one second. All right. So for me as a resource, I'm glad you're looking towards me. And I look towards other reviews. I'll look at how long a gun has been in production, and then I'll kind of look for. There's a series of problems people have mentioned about a particular firearm, whether it's in videos or in reviews that I read or whatnot. You gotta take reviews with a grain of salt, because you don't know if they're paid. You don't know how much time they really put into it. And I got to be honest with you, I love channels like CloverTac and Ghost Tactical. I watch their videos a lot because they cover a lot of the clone farms. You see a lot of Gearsons and a lot of other good guns on their channel. and they're awesome. But I tend to stick with smaller channels like those guys when I do my research. I'll watch the big channels, but the smaller channels tend to take a little more time into talking about what happens with the gun, like when they take it to the range or what their experiences with it have been. Because like on this JTS shotgun, I watched at least 6 or 7 videos on it, and they were smaller channels. These were channels that had like, you know, like maybe a couple thousand subs, and the sub count doesn't really matter, but they're just doing just an amateur video out in the field. And they say, hey, I ran, you know, a dozen different kinds of ammo through, and this is what happened, or do this first before you shoot it, or make sure you clean this part before you take it out. Because I've noticed a lot of the larger channels, when they feature a lot of these guns, like there's just a lot of things they don't mention, or they'll complain about something that's completely easily fixable, and it can turn you away from that particular firearm. So yeah, when it comes to cloned firearms, it's like Storm and Norman's joining us here. I do my research. I'll try to look around, like take the Beretta PT92. There's a lot of people, or I'm sorry, take the Taurus PT92. There's a lot of people that hate Taurus firearms, but they accept the PT92 because it's been in production for like 20 plus years. It's had a couple variants. It has a proven track record. You know, it's based off the original Beretta machining and tooling and design and whatnot. And so stuff like that it's a safe bet. So I really kind of do my research. Now, something like this, where this particular clone doesn't have one particular lineage where that it comes from, I'm kind of taking a chance. And for what I paid for it, it's okay. I'm fine with that. So, all right. Bitter Taxpayer, what about you? What's your experiences with clones of firearms, like all these Browning high power clones that are coming out now? Or you could almost argue any AK that's not a Kalashnikov is a clone, right? What do you think, Bitter Taxpayer?
Okay, so I find it interesting that you mentioned the high power, because that's the first thing that came to mind for me. The high power I have is a military surplus from why am I drawing a blank? It's Eastern Europe. I haven't had enough wide awake coffee to make me wide awake. So Hungary. It's a Hungarian high power. So I got it.
FEG, I think.
Yeah, the FEG. So I got it for.
Uh-huh.
I got it because it's military surplus, and I collect military surplus. I wanted a high power, and this is a high power. And the price, when I got it, they were announcing that the high powers were going out of production with FN, and those are, I've shot an FN high power. They're a high quality gun, but the price is pretty high. So this fit everything. And then Tony York out in the chat mentioned UGEtube. And yeah, if you want to get a black powder revolver, or even some other type, rifles or whatnot that are replicas of 19th century, about as close as you're going to get without risking damaging an original, then you've got to go with UGEtube or Pieta, something that's a clone in a way. That's what people call them, clones, reproduction. I like reproduction more than clone, really, because clone kind of implies that it's in production right now and it's not really in production.
Or it's an exact copy, and there's many features that get changed for whether it's safety reasons or production reasons. You don't always get it exactly the same as the original, like with our black powder firearms. And that's a good point. I never thought about clones relating to, not just like this modern military surplus, but older military surplus, or ideas like Colt revolvers and things like that,
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing too. And a lot of times, unless you want to go buy the museum quality piece for the museum quality prices, you don't have a choice. You've got to get the next best thing. Like my Pieta revolver is kind of sort of like the Colt Navy, but not. There's differences. Even the caliber chambering is not historically accurate. So you're kind of getting the feel, but then the experience, but you're not getting the real deal.
Yes. Yeah. I have a friend. His YouTube channel is Snappers, Antiques, Firearms Unlimited, and he has original 19th century revolvers that he shoots. He'll take them out there and shoot them. And some of these are a little bit pricey if you go down to some of these gun shows and find them and buy them. But he doesn't think that a gun should be a wall hanger. And I get it. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's not reckless with these things either. And he's had to do some restoration on some of them. So he really appreciates them from that standpoint. But having the option to buy a reproduction as opposed to the limited number of originals out there, even if the price wasn't an issue, how many of them are in any condition to fire? So in some ways, clones could be a good thing. What I see though with some people is, I'm not paying $800 for that. I'll go buy this clone for $300 or $500. It's just as good. Is it just as good? Are you paying for the name? Are you paying for the? So, for example, everybody's got a 1911 clone, but 1911s have been around for, 110 years, right? So that's going to happen, right? And with the number of companies making them in World War II and things like that, it kind of opened up the gates for things to get diversified there. So is one company a little bit better than the other? You can actually have it go the opposite way, where the original manufacturers of them made government issue type basic, good guns, don't get me wrong, but you can have Company X make the Cadillac version of it. So it can go the other way with clones. They can, but I think that there are some guns like the 1911 where a clone is a clone is a clone, or whatever you want to call it, but there would be different qualities that vary based on the companies, not really so much. So much.
Not even on the design. You could have material and parts failure on a clone. I mean, so
if something is like $3,000 and the clone is $500, and it's I might go that route for price, but usually price is not my top priority when I'm looking at a clone. It's something about it. And there are some companies that make, for example, going back to 1911, they make their version of 1911 in a long slide and nobody makes it, or they make it in this caliber and nobody makes it, or they make it with all these features. It comes with it comes with ambidextrous safety front and rear serrations. It comes with target adjustable sights. It comes with, all these things, right, that you could add or have a gunsmith do to you, or you can just buy it out of the box, and they're Company X, and they make the cheap one. Or the inexpensive one, because there's a difference between cheap and expensive. And expensive doesn't always mean poor quality, but sometimes it does. So from the standpoint of price, which seems to be the reason I hear most people get these clones, I'm usually not supportive of that. It really depends. But if it's availability, sure. If they offer something nobody else does, sure. If they've got a lifetime warranty on it, sure. You mentioned the PT92. That is a lot less than the Beretta 92. Oh, and it's been around for almost 40 years. I was getting the Beretta catalogs in the mid 80s with these things in there. And back then,
they were pre-rail PT92s. Now the thing is, the PT92s are now up to 500, and I've seen basic 92 M92 Berettas for $6. Though the PT92 used to be a good deal when it was sub $400, which I think I paid $379 for mine 4 or 5 years ago. And you can argue something, M. Gabriel saying, well, that's not a clone. Well, it's kind of sort of. I mean, it was based off of Beretta design. If they bought Beretta tooling and design plans and manufacturing, I think it was its own variant for the Brazilian police and military market, its own variant of it. And I don't know if the frame-mounted safety was Taurus's idea, or if that was the original Beretta design.
That was the original.
It was the original Beretta design. Okay, and they've changed it since then. But the point I'm trying to make is you're getting something that's pattern after a design that's very familiar, mechanically maybe functions nearly identically. That's what I mean by a clone. So like even my JTS shotgun, you can say, well, that's not a clone because it's not like a Saiga, it's not like a Vepr. It's a mishmash of all the parts from those two guns, which it really is. So I mean, it's a form factor. It's a manual of arms. I mean, I don't want to argue the definition of clone.
But
we know what we're talking about here, right? Yeah.
Look at all the companies making AKs, right? Are those all clones? In a way, yeah, kind of, because they're not Kalashnikov, right? But AKs have been made around the world for
is it stamped versus milled? I mean, what's
70 years. They've been different companies have been making them and stuff. So sometimes when a different company makes a clone, it's just fine. Or like I said earlier, it's better. And there's nothing wrong if you have a set budget and you're not going over that budget and you really want this, and that clone is the closest you're going to get. You're not getting it because it's a reproduction, or you're not getting it because it's that they no longer make it, or you're not getting it because they offer a feature you're just getting it for price. Like I said, I'm not really very supportive of that being your primary thing, but it's your money. Do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that sometimes though, when you're just strictly getting it for price, then you're getting what you pay for. And if you get poor quality, then that's compared to like when if I bring like my Ruger SR 1911, it's a well-built 1911. Ruger's been around for a long time. I mean, how do you screw up a 1911, right? It's got a warranty and everything else, right? But if somebody's got a Colt, right, I'm instantly going, oh man, that's a nicer. It's like you showing up in a Chevy and they show up in a Buick, that sort of thing. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying the Ruger is crap, but a Colt is a Colt when it comes. And that's one of their signature kind of, so there is some ways to look at it. If you've got a PT92, there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And but I would say that, you know, having the Beretta is, if I don't know, from a collector standpoint, or just I'm having trouble saying this, but more or less for me, price is not the main reason why I would get a clone. It really comes down to what's still in production, what's available, what's you know, what's something about it that, or maybe I've got the original now, I want to get the clone, right? So, but if they're not making it, what choice do you have?
Yeah.
So.
Well, you're talking price. Okay. I'll just do real quick. One thing on price. That was the reason why I bought the JTS and not a Vepr, not a Saiga, because it was 5 to 6 times more, literally, if I wanted to buy one of those, you know, Saigas or Vepr. So I understand going into it, I'm getting what I pay for.
Right. But yeah. 5 or 6 times more, not $200.
No, it's not. No, we're talking $1,000 minimum difference to upgrade to the real deal.
From that standpoint, I get it. So when somebody's going, well, this is 5 and this is 6, I'm going to get the clone because it's $100 cheaper.
Yeah, if it's that close, I just buy the real thing.
Yeah, I buy the real thing. If it's $1,000 more, $2,000, $3,000 more, you have to get it on Gunbroker because you can't get it at an FFL because it's not in production. Then I could see the justification for the clone. At the end of the day, though, if that's what you're going to do, or you set yourself a limit, that's once again, it's your money, it's not mine. I don't care. Don't ask me to pay for it.
Yeah. Kingpin, or you want to say something real quick? I didn't mean to cut you off, buddy.
When we're talking about clones, a Ruger 1911 is not a clone of a Colt 1911. That's kind of like saying that your Chevy Tahoe, I don't know if the Chevy even make Tahoe, your Chevy pickup is a clone of a Model A. You know, my thought.
The only thing you could argue is maybe the design is similar, or it's a 1911 pattern.
So is your hat? Is that hat you're wearing a clone of a cowboy hat? No, it's not.
What I mean by this is a cowboy hat because everybody wears baseball caps. But I see what you're saying.
What I mean by that is if you wanted a Kalashnikov AK-47 and you got a clone, that means somebody looked at the AK, the original AK, and built it exactly the same, with obviously the full auto, all that kind of stuff, standards that you
modern industrial modifications. Yeah,
and they copied that gun exactly. Now AK's patent ran out, so now Ruger can make their own version of an AK. I don't call that a clone. Like I said,
well, like PSA makes the AK-103, which I think is supposed to be fairly close to the original. I don't know. They tell you that this is the closest you're going to get to an authentic Kalashnikov. You know, you see that in the descriptions on these guns. Yeah,
every rifle is a sharp stick clone. Then, you know what I mean. So I'm thinking if you're copying a firearm or a car or a hat or anything, exactly trying to say, hey, this is my copy of this, paying homage to this, then it's okay. But if it's 100 years later and you go buy a Glock 19, a Glock 19 is not a clone of a 1911. You know, it's another gun. It's a different gun. Your Ruger 1911 is its own 1911.
Well, I mean, you could also argue if it takes the same mags as the original design it's based on. I mean, to me, that's closer to calling it a clone because it's going to use mechanically. It's going to be the same, you know, operating device and the same dimensions and so on. I don't know. But yeah, what I'm saying is that you're going to be getting a firearm that's close in design or looks or functionality to the original. That's just so like what I'm saying here is like the Beretta or there's now these Benelli. There's Turkish-made Benelli M4 clones that are really starting to hit the market now. They're being imported by multiple companies. And they're kind of sort of similar to the Benelli M4, but not, you don't have 100% parts compatibility with it. And so that gun itself, you could consider it a clone because the design, the gas system is identical, but not necessarily the quality of the manufacturer or all the parts compatibility across the board. So, I mean, I would call it an M4 clone because it's the closest thing you're going to get to one without buying an actual Benelli M4, you know. And then I watched some of the reviews on that gun and you know, like some of the bigger videos, or some of the bigger channels, they're doing high round tests on that M4 clone and it's failing, like TFB TV and stuff, which is why that's what I'm saying. When you're going to be going into buying a clone, you want to do your research but it really is hit or miss Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock when it comes to clones. You might get one that's poorly manufactured and I might get one that's manufactured perfectly and not have any issues. So that's kind of the problem too with clones, could be that inconsistency in quality control. because these things are just mass produced as quickly and cheaply as possible. And who knows if they're even test fired from the factory, you know? So also joining us, guys, we got Storm and Norman Gunworks here. Storm and Norman, what are you doing, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, yo?
Doing good.
Heading out to the range. Thought I'd pop in real quick.
Yeah. So you build guns.
The Benelli, I'm sorry, the Benelli,
yes.
The Hatsan Escort, I think. They're all right.
Panzer makes one. There's, I don't know, like maybe Gearson does one too, but yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the Hatsan ride them. They hold up, but I still like Benelli. As far as clones, not really a M1A fan. I mean, I got a couple of them. I got a Scout. I got a SOCOM. But my bucket list is a Bula Defense, where it's forged internals with a pick rail integrated into the receiver. And then also for clones, the clone of the Colt, the single action, I would go with the STD Standard Manufacturing. They have a real nice badass one for like $5K.
So how much would an original cost? Like an original museum grade, 10, 15, 20,000? We're talking 3, 4. Could you justify not buying the original?
I like the clones because I could beat the shit out of them, and I don't feel bad. Like if it was an original,
you can actually shoot them. Yeah.
I wouldn't beat up an original. Hell no.
Yeah, that's just part of it too. Is you're like, well, if you want it for the collectability or just for the exclusivity or the value, then you sometimes don't have a choice. You've got to go the clone route, you know. So that's part of it.
It's kind of like muscle cars too. If you buy like a clone Hemi 420, whatever the hell. Yeah, you go get a clone so you can beat up on it. You wouldn't go do that with a real deal limited production Hemi, you know, CUDA or whatever.
For 7 years, I owned a 1993 Mustang GT, and the guy that I bought it from was trying to turn it into a Cobra. He tried to make it look like a 93 Cobra with the body kit and the head, you know, the intake and all that stuff. And it had already been modified and stuff. So I didn't care about making changes to it because it wasn't original anymore. Had different seats. It had multiple mechanical parts under the hood that had been changed. In fact, it had a supercharger on it before I bought it. So I didn't care about that. But like if I go buy an original now and spend 15 or 20,000 on a Fox body Mustang, I'm not going to modify it. You know, I don't even know if I want to drive it just because of, and I hate trailer queens when it comes to cars. Cars are best to be enjoyed. Life is too short not to enjoy it. So I'd want to drive it, but I see where you're coming from, you know? So the idea is, do you spend the money on the original? But here's the thing, like if I bought a Vepr or Saiga 12 and spent $1,200 to $3,000, as we're going to see over on Gunbroker, if I bought one, I'm going to shoot it and enjoy it because I want the experience. I want to know what it's like shooting it, you know? And I'm gonna be honest, guys. The JTS shotgun I bought was basically an impulse purchase. They dropped the price $20. It was $279 with 2 5-round mags. I'm like, let's just get it and try it and have some fun with it, you know?
You ever heard of Saiga Customs?
No, I'm just now getting into this whole AK pattern 12 gauge thing. It's becoming a new thing with me now because the clones are financially easily accessible and the originals are not necessarily out of reach. But okay, what do those guys do? Do they do just straight up custom work on the gun or just parts or what?
Yeah, custom work. So like, you know how low velocity or birdshot won't cycle a semi-auto? Well, what they do is they polish the BCG, the hammer, the whole thing. They even reshape the bolt carrier group, and then that makes it run birdshot and light loads.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that, and see, here's the other thing I'll say about this. If you get one of these originals, your opportunity to get things like that done to that gun that you bought are going to be higher, better. There's going to be more accessories out there, more furniture for it. Whereas my JTS M12 AK, I can swap out the handle, the pistol grip, the stock, the trigger group, and I think that's about it. There's nothing, it's not compatible with anything else. Like that takes standard AK components, but like the handguard itself is proprietary. The gas system can't be modified or changed because it's its own thing. The piston is different. So like I'm very limited with what I can do to it. So if I bought this to customize it, it's stuff I'm gonna have to do myself or find some supplier that happens to make a part for it. So like, but if I got a Saiga or a Vepr, there's a whole wide world of modifications I can make to it if I want to because of the following and the variants that are out there and so on. Now you can get some clones that take the Vepr parts, as I'm going to show you here in a little bit, but that's the other thing too, is you get the clone, you might be buying into a proprietary design. You might not be able to change that safety lever because it's a different design. You might not be able to, like I was looking at some of the Gearson 92 pistols, and I think there's some components. If you guys have done complete parts breakdowns, and they show you that there's a lot of parts that aren't necessarily Beretta compatible, even certain springs aren't compatible. So when you get the clone, don't just think you're going to transform it into the original because it might not happen. So I mean, that's just kind of the mentality when you go into this. This is also kind of my my warning for you, if you decide to buy a clone after today's episode, don't text me about it saying it's not going to run, because you got to do your research before you buy these things. So
yeah, I did a video where I bought a PT92 magazine and tried to fit it in my M9 and it wouldn't fit.
Yeah, and I think you either have to. Oh, wait, do you have to cut special notches for the safety, or what is it? It's different.
I ain't cutting up a magazine.
No. I think that's what. I think that's what you had to do to it.
That might have been it, but yeah, I just did a short video just to say, will it fit? You know, and it didn't work. So, I mean, there are some things about that. Some things aren't interchangeable between brands or clones or copies or reproduction. I did one where I tried to swap out an Uberti and Pieta cylinder between two Colt 1851 Navy clones, and the parts weren't interchangeable. Although some parts are interchangeable between Uberti and Pieta, they're not. You can machine them, so you can machine different parts on the gun to make the parts interchangeable or things like that. So there's look, if somebody out there is butthurt and they think we're being critical of their clones, or we're nitpicking over what's a clone, a copy, a reproduction, or its own animal. No, it's just there's a lot of opinions on there, and at the end of the day, you're going to get what you like. You're going to, like I said, one of the things just to consider right off the get-go is it even available? If Joe Blow Company has been making a clone for years and they're still making them, but the original manufacturer is out of business, or they just decided we don't want to make these to hell with what the customers want, right? What does that say? So there's a lot to be said about what somebody might call a clone, or if you want to nitpick, is it a clone or not? There are, I understand the whole reasoning why somebody might say this isn't a clone. It's its own thing, because in some ways, you're right. So I really wouldn't worry about it from the standpoint of if it's a clone or not, or what name you want to call it by. Does this thing run? Does it do the job you want? Does it fit within your parameters? So I would say that you bring up a good point about the support. Are you going to get support if you get this clone or copy or their variant on something versus the original?
And that's the thing. Do your research on the company. Do they even have a website? What kind of support do they have? What kind of a warranty comes with it? Mine only comes with 1 year. Whereas I don't know what Vanelli's warranty is, but maybe it's lifetime for the owner. I don't know. So that's just it. Do they even have offices in the USA? If you buy the parts, can you get it fixed if you need to? Where does it go for service? Because we don't want you to buy something that's going to have something break and then boom, you can't get parts for it anymore. So that's kind of part of it too. Single Shot, what about you? What's your opinion on buying clone firearms? Or, is it a safe bet? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. The thing that folks ought to do before they actually purchase the clone is check the reviews on it. See what they're getting for reviews. Of course, everybody's got a different opinion, as everybody always says, but you kind of have something to work with, to work amongst and come up with the balance of it. I've got 4 45 ACPs, I got 3 44 Magnums. So, it's all in the individual's choice and what they've got to spend. Sometimes you get a clone that's well built and it's worth the money. And it's also on the flip side, if you get a clone, sometimes it ends up being a piece of junk. So each his own.
What bitter taxpayer is saying here? If it's only a couple $100, the older I get, the more I want the real deal, because I've wasted my time on trash in the past. I want something good. Doesn't mean that the brand name can't be better or can't be reliable, but my experience is when you get the original, you have less issues with whatever you buy.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter what. I'm not just totally sold on the brand, but I'm just saying that's just kind of my experience as I get older. But yeah.
I've got one of those FEG high power clones. That thing shoots lights out at 25 yards.
Yeah, and like I said, do your research on it. For God's sake, take it apart and clean it before you take it out to make sure nothing's bent or broken or wrong with it. There's so many videos I see where they took it out of the box and it won't cycle. I wonder why. Because it's packed full of Cosmoline or heavy machine oil that gunks up 100 rounds in and stuff. It's really, really kind of disappointing sometimes, because I think it really shorts the customer out on the experience, because it sways them away from buying a gun because, this big channel gave it a bad review. You know, and then for me, you know, buying this JTS, I'm very open-minded. If it doesn't run, I'm going to try different ammos. I'm going to try different gas port settings because you can adjust it. I'm going to make sure it's nice and clean, of course. You know, I'm a clean. So my video is going to drop on Wednesday. Make sure you guys check it out. It'll just be an unboxing video. But I'm gonna do a cleaning video on it because I'm still actually in the process of cleaning it. I don't know, Kingpin, what do you think about this whole discussion so far? You think we're gonna move on in a second? Anything else you want to say, Kingpin, before we go? I know I talked to you already, but what do you think?
I guess I might be a little bit off topic, but it kind of relates. If you open your gun safe or your gun cabinet or walk into your gun room, wherever you keep all your stuff at, and you're looking at your collection and you notice that you've got a whole bunch of crappy guns, you are the problem. No, really, that's it. Either you're, because I know there's a channel out there that I know that'll buy $100 gun just because he wants to put a video up. He doesn't care. He'll throw it away. He doesn't care. That's his thing. He buys just any kind of crappy gun out there just to play with it. But if you're hunting for the right gun for you, and you keep going through your drawer of holsters that got $200 guns in it, the problem is you. Stop buying crap. And even with your clone, if the clone is $200, the real thing is $1,000, but the crappy clone is only $100. A whole bunch of people go out and buy that crappy clone for $100, and then 3 or 4 months later have to go buy the $200 clone anyway, or they buy another $100 crappy clone, and then guys like me and Squib yell at you because you say you can't afford guns. You can't afford this. You can't afford that. Well, you're spending your money improperly. That's just my opinion on people who complain about, oh, I bought this crappy gun. Oh, I bought this. You're the problem.
Yeah, but you always say, you know, this gun I want is $400 or $500, and all I've got is $200, so I can't afford it. And you say, then save up till you get $400 or $500. And I think that's solid advice. It really is.
It is. I mean, that's what I've been doing the last couple of years to buy my bucket list guns. If I got to wait a year, I got to wait a year. If I got to wait 2 years, I got to wait 2 years. You know.
Well, there's two things about that. Some people say they need a gun. Nobody needs a gun. You want a gun. People can argue all they want with me. You don't need a gun. You want a gun. It is a want, not a need. The other thing is that they say, well, what if they need it right away because they've got, you know, it's my daughter and she's got some asshole boyfriend who's going to come and, you know, the PPO isn't going to save her. All right, first off, why did you raise her to go out with guys like this? Where's the real problem?
Well, people change and people can be very different from what you think they are. It happens, dude. But I see what you're saying.
And
the other you should have been a little more overbearing on the kid that's hanging out with your daughter. Maybe you should get a little more nosy in the business and make sure he's not a prick, right?
If it's that big of a deal and you're that worried, then you know, give her the money for a gun, loan her a gun. If you can in your state, transfer one of your guns to her.
I got this.
The other thing too is, all right, why didn't you have a gun before this? This is just like what I was saying with all the people freaking out about the shortages. Why didn't you have this beforehand? So you don't need it, you want it. So if you have that itch and you want to buy one right now, and you got $100 in your pocket and they're selling these crappy $100 guns, and then you buy a crappy $100 gun, you did it to yourself.
Parental advice, and then Foos, I'm going to get to you. Don't let your daughters date a clone of a real man, a real respectable man. Okay? There's character flaws. You take them to the pawn shop and you sell them and you go find a real one. All right, now Foos, go ahead. I've spoken. This is the way. Go ahead.
Right whenever I took a bite, you called on me.
Yeah.
So basically, you know, like when Kingpin said, I bought a crappy gun. Well, you're putting the blame on you, because that's where it is. Like everyone said, you know, are you going to go out and buy a, you know, whatever, or turn around and save a couple bucks because it's a cheaper knockoff version? Well, you're going to go out and buy the better one if it's something that you want or need.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, buy once, cry once is something I'm discovering more and more the older I get. It makes me wish I would have discovered this 10 years ago when I first started getting into YouTube, you know? It's like, why didn't I just get the better optics in the first place instead of the optic that won't hold zero and now I can't send it back? Or why don't I just get the real gun instead of this clone that doesn't cycle or, you know, has problems? And
Well, exactly. And I could also make exceptions for people who build their firearms. Like Obnoxious One's got a trunk full of polymer 80s now, because that's what he likes to do. He likes to buy the pistols and put them together and do all that kind of stuff. So if you end up with a gun that doesn't work quite right because of this or that or whatever, because you put it together, that's different. I'm talking about a manufactured, built, corporation type of firearm.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to get one to tinker with, that's a totally different story. Go get the clone. Because like there's some people that, hey, I want to tear it apart, see how it runs, fix it, put it back together. If that's your thing, get a clone.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah, if you really want to learn and kind of hack at it a little bit and tinker with it. Yeah.
To really understand how it works. Like 90% of the people out there that own guns don't understand how they work. Don't take their guns all the way apart to swap out every spring or pull every pin out of their gun. There's so many guns that the last time they've been apart was in the manufacturer as they were being put together.
There we go.
And if you're one of the guys who likes to tinker, go ahead.
Yeah, have fun with it. So real quick, I just want to get very quick history lessons on what a Saiga 12 is and what a Vepr 12 is for people that might not know. They might have heard the names before. Those of us that are kind of in the know about guns and stuff, we know this stuff already. But real quick, I'm not going to read the whole history, but so essentially when I talk about a Saiga 12 clone, now like my JTS shotgun, it's Saiga and JTS magazine compatible, but it's not Vepr magazine compatible. So like you really got to watch what you're getting. So I mean, I can say my gun is a Saiga clone, but it's really not. I'm just going to say it's an AK patterned 12 gauge. That's what I like to use. So real quick, Saiga 12, shotgun available in a wide range of configurations, patterned after the Kalashnikov series of rifles, named after the Saiga Antelope. Like the Kalashnikov rifle variants, it's a rotating bolt gas-operated gun that feeds from a box magazine, and so is my JTS shotgun. All Saiga 12 configurations are recognizable as Kalashnikov pattern guns by the large safety lever on the right side, the optic mounting rail on the left side of the receiver, and a large top-mounted dust cover held in place by the rear recoil spring assembly. So the JTS gun has some of those features. Now, let's contrast that quickly with the Vepr 12. The Vepr 12 is a multi-purpose semi-automatic detachable magazine shotgun produced by Molot. It's patterned after the original Kalashnikov rifle and built on the heavier RPK light machine gun receiver. And the difference, I think the main difference in the gas system, I believe the Vepr 12 has its own, we can call it a self-regulating system. And then your Saiga, if I'm not mistaken, has the two-position gas system, where my JTS shotgun, which I'm going to show you guys here in just a little bit, has a 4-position system so that you can tune it for the ammo that you're using. And that's just it. A lot of guys complain that, well, it's not going to cycle this ammo properly. Well, did you take the time and follow what the instruction manual said about choosing the correct gas port setting for the ammo you're shooting? Because a lot of these guns are very finicky. They won't run low brass, or they won't run sub 1200 feet per second ammo. So do your math and do some educating of yourself before you go out and make a YouTube video and just go rip on a gun, right?
Well, that's something that about shotguns that's kind of unique about shotguns is you have the low brass bird shot that doesn't have a whole bunch of gas, or you have a 2-ounce slug that has an absolutely crap ton of gas.
Yeah.
And your guns are going to run different. Kind of like, oh, my gun doesn't run, or my gun runs suppressed, but doesn't but it doesn't run not suppressed. Or hey, it runs great, not suppressed, but whenever I put a suppressor, it's beating the crap out of it. It's because of how much gas you're being introduced into the system. The round with 12 gauge has a very varying amount of gas depending on your load.
And you know what? You might buy some ammo that just won't cycle through the gun, and that's life. So before you dismiss the firearm, like when I take it out, I've got at least 6 to 7, maybe even 8 different brands and different velocities and loads that I'm going to be running through my gun. I don't have any slugs for it, but I've got some wicked double-aught buck. I've got some light bird load. I've got some hunting grade. I mean, I've got a little bit of everything. So I'm going to start off with what the recommendation in the manual is, which is the lowest gas port setting. If it cycles, great. If it doesn't, you go to the next notch. So
And with that, I know a lot of those Turkish clone shotguns. I don't know where yours is made, but you know the ones that are coming out of there.
Okay, so the JTS is made in China. I know, shoot me down now, but you don't have a choice. It's China, Turkey, or Russia. So pick your poison, right? Yeah.
So I know a lot of the ones coming out of Turkey. If you read the literature, I know we're guys and we don't do that, but if you do, a lot of them say the first 100 rounds run high brass. Mm-hmm. Because it will knock machining marks off, stuff like that.
Yeah, on the JTS, I'm seeing that they recommend running, at least 1250 feet per second initially. Like, yeah, I'm looking at TK's comment out there running only double aught buck. I'm going to be running what I consider higher velocity double aught buck, 1325 feet per second, at least the first 100 rounds. In fact, I got the mags ready to go, right? This is my Winchester ammo that I'm going to be using. And I want to break it in. If it's going to run this is going to be the home defense round I'm going to pack in it. Then I'll move over to slugs. And then once it's broken in and I know there's no issues, then I'm going to start running some of to see if it'll cycle birdshot, because I've got a ton of that right now because I was going to get into skeet shooting and trap shooting. So, yeah, DKTK says, yeah.
You got one point there, too, that has to be considered.
Yeah.
Chamber pressure on a shotgun is measured differently than it is on a pistol or rifle. Those two, the pistol and the rifle, are gauged by CUP, copper units of pressure. A shotgun's pressure, chamber pressure, is measured by LUP, lead units of pressure.
Okay.
And it's basically the same process. You've got a piezo system to check your pressure with, and they insert a copper pellet, and that chamber pressure will crush that copper pellet, and then you measure the copper pellet to see what it measures. The same way with the lead.
Okay.
Lead is obviously going to crush a lot quicker.
Softer metal.
Than copper.
Yeah. So
your pressure is quite a lot different in a shotgun than it is in a rifle or a handgun.
Yeah. Hey, also joining us, guys, is Defense Dad. Defense Dad, how you doing, man? What's going on?
I've been listening, but I just got back from McDonald's with my breakfast. So
it's all good, homie. Oh, that's fine, man. How you been doing? You good?
Yeah, pretty good.
So Kingpin put a little plug in for you real quick on the gun-free zone video, and I had to get my point out there that guns don't kill people, gun-free zones kill people. But yeah, I mean that video. I think I almost felt like it needs to be a public service announcement, like a 30-second version of it on TV networks across the country. I don't think we do. Really this is an argument for another time, but I don't think we do enough pro-gun education in the mass media and advertising and things like that. Like, let people know, hey, you have a right to carry a firearm, or hey, gun-free zones are not safe. We really need that mudslinging campaign that they throw at us all the time. But anyway, Defense Dad, how's life treating you?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I don't have to work till 1:30 today, so I can kind of relax a little bit.
So what's your thought on cloned firearms in general? Is it better if it's within reason, is it better to buy the original and enjoy it, or get the clone if you just want a beater, get the clone if you just want the experience? What do you think?
Kind of like what Squib said earlier. Excuse me, Bitter Taxpayer said earlier. If you're buying it for an investment, if you can get the actual thing. If you're buying it to shoot and you don't really care, like
buy both.
I own two what could be considered clones. One is really not a clone because it's a 1911. It's a Rock Island, but it's a 9mm. They never made that. The original 1911 was never made in 45 or 9mm. Excuse me. But I like that gun. It runs well. I also have an H&R Partner pump, which is a clone of a Remington 870.
Anybody that's ever bought a Mossberg Maverick 88, you could argue that's a clone of its own Mossberg line. It's not really because it's the same company, but still same form factor, trigger pack, operating mechanism, some parts interchangeability. Yeah.
If you're buying it for an investment and you think maybe you'll resell it down the road, buy the original thing because your clone's not gonna hold its value. Right. But if you're just buying it simply to shoot, and like you guys were talking about high powers earlier, I would like a high power. I would probably look more towards the Gerson, or I hate to say it, but I like the Springfield version. Even though I don't like Springfield because it's got the magazine disconnect. But those are
well, the Springfield version is a Gerson. It's made in Turkey, probably in the same factory. It's not made by Springfield.
Have we verified it's not American made? Do we know that?
It is not American made. It is not, which is fine because the high power, even though John Browning was one of the designers on it, it's always been made overseas. But the whole thing is, if you buy the Gerson or you buy the Springfield, it's really a matter of maybe
even mechanically the safety disconnect or whatnot. Is that exactly the same?
Most of the parts, if not all the parts, are interchangeable if it's a real high power.
Well, the Springfield is the only one that they modified it and doesn't come with the magazine disc. But my point is, those are $400 or $500, right? And if you don't know if you're going to like that form factor, rather than because FN just came out with their own new version of it, but that's $1,200. If they're both,
which is almost putting you in the price of surplus high power price range, right? Authentic Browning or whoever made the original before. I mean, that's $1,200 would probably get you high power, wouldn't it, or not? I don't know. An original.
But what my point is, if it's $400 or $500. Buy it, see if you like it, and if you really like it, get the original one. But if you bought it, you're like, like I bought so many guns that I bought, I'm like, I don't really like this thing. Well, now I'm out $400 or $500 rather than $1,200. So I kind of look at it that aspect. But like, or let's say they came out with a brand new clone of a drawing a blank M1 Garand. Sorry, totally drawing a blank. A brand new clone. If you could buy that for $400, it was made by the same company, or you're spending, I don't know what, $1,000, $1,200 for an original one where you're afraid to shoot. And the clone was modified so you can shoot modern 308 on a regular basis, not have to reload for it.
If you like Nice Strike, go buy an Norinco. Don't worry about it.
Armory makes new production M1 Garands right here in America, and they cost about the same as an original. So one's more of a collectible, and one of them is more of a shooter. They're about the same price, really.
Okay.
The thing is, those originals, you can still shoot them, but yeah, I could see if you're a collector, especially if you got a more rare one or something, or you got one in really good shape for a good deal, you might not want to scuff it or scratch it. So, yeah, I mean, well, it's just like trapdoors. You can buy an original trapdoor for about the same price as a reproduction. And it's like, well, which one do I get? So that kind of makes it a little bit difficult. That's why, I don't really factor in price as much usually.
Yeah.
So like if Squidload were here, he would say just put it on the credit card and buy both, wouldn't he?
I'll put it in car terms for me because that's more my history. My dream car is an 87 Buick Grand National GNX. They only made 500 of those. Those are worth well over six figures. If I were rich enough to have one of those, I wouldn't really want to drive it. Now, if I had that and I was rich enough and I could take just a regular Regal T-Type and make it a clone and have, say, 20 grand into it, I would drive that all day long and I would save the original. So it depends on what you're going to use it for.
Yeah. I think X-Adam1 here has got the mic drop comment of the show today. I went with an AP5 over an MP5 because they look exactly the same and they claim to be the same tooling. I simply don't care. HKs are overpriced regardless. So
yeah, and not all HKs are overpriced. I'm an HK fan, and I paid less for my HKs than you can.
We're not talking handguns. We're talking submachine guns, or we're talking their AR pattern firearms, and
Well, I know.
But I mean, you could argue anything over like an average market price for a gun is going to be overpriced. I don't know. I mean, that's another argument for another day. But it's just he has a good point that he got an AP5 because it's however many thousands of dollars less, and he doesn't have to go buy a full auto and go get it tax stamped and this whatever. So I see where he's coming from with that. But I agree with you too, Defense Dad. It is true. So real quick, we're going to keep things rolling here. Let me show you guys what I bought. It was kind of an impulse purchase because it was on sale. What I picked up here was the JTS M12 AK. There's a ton of videos out there on YouTube, and I trust the smaller channels. A lot of these guys that don't even really make videos on a regular basis, or some of these guys said, hey, I bought this, I cleaned it, let's just see how it runs. I want to see what just the average channel had to say about it. Overwhelmingly, the reception is positive with this shotgun. They seem to be durable. There's a few channels out there that claim to have run this many thousand rounds through it and that many thousand rounds through it. That's for you to decide if that's legit or not. But when you see him putting 100 or 200 rounds through it on camera and it's cycling, or you watch multiple videos, I paid $279 for it. It's got Remington choke tubes that are removable. You can buy choke tubes directly from JTS. It takes Saiga or JTS pattern magazines, which I can buy locally. It comes with 2 5-round mags. It seems to be a pretty robust gas system and build. I'm sure it's full of cast parts. I have no idea. So we're going to see how well the thing runs. I will say this. If you guys decide to buy one, you absolutely must clean it and lube it because you will be appalled at how dry this thing is inside. Mine had crusty grease on the rails. It looked like 5-year-old Crisco, like it was cracked and crusty, the grease was. So I did a complete cleanup with it. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on the bolt carrier group before I take it out and on the rails. It's been heavily just soaked in CLP. And also the gas regulator. The one thing that you got to watch out for, the manual says, make sure the gun has been thoroughly cleaned, every time you shoot it. It even says take it apart and clean it. It doesn't say before the first range trip, but they do say that it's something you should do is thoroughly clean it. So I always take them out and clean it before I go to the range to make sure there's no problems with it. Well, the gas regulator, they say you don't have to service it or clean it unless you're having some problems. But a few of the other videos on YouTube said, do this before you take it to the range first. And what it turned out is there's like a heavy manufacturer grease that they use, or oil that they use in the cylinder. And it can get hot and sticky and it won't turn and it can lock up. So they said, take it apart and just clean the heck out of that and then put it back together. All you got to do is take the screw off. You take the little knob off the end. You want to mark it before you take it apart so you know what the zero gas setting is, so it matches up with the position. And what the guy did is he hit it with a punch and stamped it so he knew where to line stuff up. You pull off the cylinder, you just clean the heck out of everything, give it a lot of lube, put it back together, and then you can go to the range. Now, like I said, this is kind of a mishmash of parts from the Saiga 12 and the Vepr 12. It has a little bit of everything. Top Picatinny rail, no side cover, does have a bolt hold open on it, does have an adjustable gas system for 4 positions. Handguard is not compatible with Saiga or Vepr. Trigger group, furniture on the bottom, the grip and the stock are compatible with, I don't know, AKM or AK parts. Trigger packs, AK part compatible. And was it JTS? Yeah, JTS group has full part support for it online. So I'm not advertising for it. I bought this gun out of pocket. But I mean, I kind of am buying it, understanding it could have issues, but I'm also not, in it for $800 or $1,200. I just kind of bought it as a range toy. But if it proves itself reliable, then I would consider keeping it around as a truck gun or a beater gun or even like a stout home defense weapon. The catch on that particular firearm is that the magazines are expensive. The 10 rounder, which I have here, this beast, just compare it to an AK mag, you can see the size difference. I mean, it's like night and day with this thing, right? I mean, it's freaking huge. These are $40 locally. They're $30 online, 10 rounders. You can get Saiga 12 rounders that'll be compatible with it too. But I'm only buying one of these because I want to make sure the thing's going to run and not have problems before I sink into a bunch of $40 mags. You get 2 5 rounders with it. And I think these might be $20 online, $30 locally for me. And you get 2 of those with it. So I'm getting it, kind of knowing what I'm getting myself into. I'm not going to be disappointed or upset if it doesn't run. I go into guns like this expecting them not to function because you get what you pay for, right? It might malfunction every other mag, but I'm also going to try the gas settings, try a variety of ammo through it. It's just something fun for me. So if you consider going the clone route, go into it with an open mind that you're not getting the exact same gun. You're getting something sort of like it, sort of similar to it, okay? Let's check the comments real quick and see if I'm missing anything that's out there. You guys are talking cars out there, buying original versus the clone.
So that Chinese gun, that AK pattern, it should run just fine with you after a break-in period. Longevity may be an issue. After like your first 300, 400, 500 rounds,
something's going to wear out and break.
No, I'd take it apart and make sure that you're not premature wearing on stuff.
Absolutely.
Let's say you are. Go out and look, source another spring, source this, source that. I mean, if the trigger pack is AK, you may want to go out and check out an ALG trigger or something like that. Get a different recoil spring, stuff like that do break on shotguns or break on any gun.
Or maybe try some more ergonomically comfortable furniture or whatnot. Now they make a more expensive version of that exact one. It's like $200 more, and you get a different gas system with it. In fact, they have a self-regulating adapter you can buy for it from JTS for the other model. And it also has a nice full-length anodized, steel rail or aluminum rail that you can put on it that gives you more ergonomics for it. It's M-LOK compatible. But I didn't want to spend $400 or $500 on it because I'm also looking at another AK pattern rifle that I'll show you guys here in a minute. But no, you got a good point, Foos. It's because, is it robust enough to really hold up? Or if you start to have some issues with it, you want to contact the company, especially if you're coming up on the end of that warranty period, because they might not sell you the parts. They might require you to send it in for repairs after a certain time period. Whereas if it's during the warranty period, they might send you a label you can print off and you can ship it in the original box and get it fixed. So that's definitely something that you want to watch out for. High wear, especially if they say this thing's got cast parts inside of it, I want to make sure there isn't something peening or cracking or bent or whatever inside of it.
I mean, check the bolt lugs, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. That was the one thing in the Brandon Herrera video he did point out. He said it looked like the bolt was cast, which means it could be a ticking time bomb, but I don't know. And then here I'm watching another channel called, I think it was Whisper Tactical or something. He claims to have put 5,000 rounds through the gun, which is like an obscene amount of money to spend. It's like 2 or 3 times more than the gun cost. The videos are a couple years old. I don't doubt that he did it because he's putting hundreds of rounds through the gun in the videos, but it's like, you know, and he gave like a final 5,000 round update to it. He basically trashed it because that was what he bought it for, to just see what it would do, right? I think he left it out in a field for like 6 months and got it out of the field and it was all rusted and stuff. But anyway, that's not the point.
Would you say that shotgun is probably the most, I guess the best word I can think of off the top of my head would be finicky out of all the firearms? Because
I wouldn't say pump, but the semi-autos could be because of just
here's kind of my point. Your handguns are revolvers or semi-automatics, and they're basically what they are. Pick it up, load it, pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Your rifle is just a longer version of that. Now, obviously, with the rifle, you have recoil, so we're not talking about recoil, but it's basically put a bullet in, aim it downrange, and pull the trigger. Where the shotgun, you've got the different gases that you're talking about. You've got pump action, you've got lever action, you've got single shot, you know, all these different kinds of things. It sounds like you got to be very careful if you're going to become a shotgunner.
Well,
you got to know what you're about to get yourself into. There's a whole lot of stuff in the shotgun world.
Just like with 22s, whenever you buy a brand new semi-auto 22, you got to find the ammo that it likes. Sometimes it doesn't like the Remington, you know, bucket of bullets. Sometimes you have to run the CCI velocity. It's, you know, stuff like that, because it's, you know, that round was not made for that type of action.
You could just not waste your time.
And the 12 gauge and all these shotguns were made for break action, stuff like that. That, you know, that's not made for semi-auto. So you start putting it into a semi-auto, you're gonna have difficulties.
Yeah.
Well, even if it's not semi-automatic, when you start talking about slugs versus, you know, the choke tubes and all that different kind of stuff, you put a 9mm in just about any gun that's chambered in 9mm, and it's gonna function and fire.
Right.
Yeah, as long as you're using, like, say, a brass new manufacturer round versus a steel case, or, you know, some guns can be finicky with steel case,
off the shelf, everyday kind of stuff.
What's that, Kingpin?
I was just saying, yeah, like you're running the mill, everyday, normal John Q. Public kind of stuff.
Yeah. New York Outcast says, well, some people just like to pay more for things. Yeah, but again, when it comes to getting the real deal versus clones, I mean, yeah, that's true, but sometimes you can get some real good deals too. So, all right. I also want to show you this one real quick. So we're kind of moving up the food chain, moving up the price point. Another AK pattern firearm to consider, and I don't think these are in production anymore, but I would consider getting one because they're the closest thing to a Vepr that you can get without Vepr money, which is $1,500 on up. The SDS Lynx 12, this has been out for a while now. Don't know if it's a threaded barrel. It looks like it, but this is Vepr compatible with the handguard, with the magazines. They say that this is the closest thing you're going to get to a Vepr reproduction. Now, these are also Chinese made, $409. So they do cost more than the JTS. But if you like that design and that style, and you don't want to spend $1,200 on up or $1,500 on up, this is the closest you're going to get to an actual Vepr. So that would be one to consider, because I think SDS, I was going to go to their website here in a second. They do make something similar to this, but it's a little bit different. And I don't know if the furniture on the new SDS guns are Vepr compatible. Just because if it is Vepr compatible, there's a lot out there for you, like in terms of, you know, handguards that you could get for it, or maybe some internal components you could swap out if you want to put the Russian parts in there. Maybe you can find a trigger pack, or you can find some springs, or a cover, or whatnot, or a charging handle, or a piston. So
I think
I
think most of these trigger parts are normal, just AK triggers.
Yeah, they are AK pattern triggers. Yeah. But it seems to be just like some of the furniture is a little bit different. And then like here's the newer version of what I think we would call the SDS Lynx. Here's like the next kind of step up. We're kind of going up the price point, and then eventually it just basically ends with a real Vepr or Saiga, which I don't know if they go for at gun shows, but what I'm seeing used online on Gun Broker is about $1,500. So the SDS S12 semi-auto AK shotgun looks a lot like the SDS Lynx 12. This one just has a different handguard on it. Looks like it's M-Lock compatible. So this may take Vepr parts. They don't say it in here, but they do say that it is AK furniture and trigger group compatible. It looks like a US palm grip, and it might be, some of these parts might be American made for 922R compliance. So this one, these when you can find them, they're $479. And if you go to like gun.deals and type in SDS S12 semi-auto, it'll pop up and you can find them. So this is getting closer to the $500 range. And then just the last one I wanted to show you real quick. I found these. I go ahead.
One thing, 922R is rifles only.
Oh, it is. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, it doesn't apply to shotguns. Okay.
Correct.
I mean, I've only owned one rifle, I think, that fell into the whole. Well, I've had two, I guess, that fall into the 922R kind of rules and regulations, which they have to have so many American-made parts on the gun to bring it over and whatnot. Kalashnikov USA, which is not Kalashnikov concern. It's not. I mean, whole different argument again. But if you want to go with the closest thing to a Russian variant, if you will, then the Kalashnikov USA model is $685 when there's a blemish version available, and $856 when it's not. And this is probably going to take its own proprietary mags. So again, there are some other versions out there you can get. The point I'm getting to with this is that I wasn't able to find, and somebody can probably find this answer, but I was not able to find an American-made AK pattern 12-gauge semi-auto shotgun. I couldn't find one. So these are the options. Now, the Kalashnikov USA ones, I believe they're made in the USA. So, but they're copying the original Kalashnikov design. So, Bitter Taxpayer, you and I were talking about this. Didn't I mention that, I think I said this in my JTS video, which is going to come out this Wednesday. I guarantee you within 5 years, I could see PSA releasing an AK pattern 12-gauge. And the reason why is because they've already got the AK rifle game down and pistol game down. I could see them expanding over into that area, especially if these other models maybe start to dry up and disappear.
I don't know if the market's there for it.
They'll make one. Is there a market for a 5.7 pistol? No, but they're selling like hotcakes.
Yeah,
is there a market for the dagger? No, because there's $1,300 guns out there, but they sell out constantly.
For decades, gun companies were saying the AK rifle itself is too expensive, too difficult to replicate, which was a lie. It was an absolute total lie. What happened is that eventually somebody got their head out of their butt and said, not only is it inexpensive to replicate, easy to replicate, we don't even have to pay for the patents, but there's a market for an American AK. And now there's different companies making them. I mean, there was only like one or two companies. They were making kind of higher end niche, kind of get on a waiting list type stuff. Now there are companies out there making AKs and AK components in America. They're competitive with the foreign ones. They work just fine. That was the other thing. People are going, well, if it wasn't made in Eastern Europe, it's crap. And it's like, yeah, really? You really want to go
unfortunately,
there?
There's been a learning curve for American-made AKs, and that's going to be the case with. I mean, I think about the original Century Arms RAS 47 and the exploding trunnions, right? Like the cast trunnions and failing headspace and stuff. And
the reason why there is a learning curve is because
they want to do as cheaply as possible.
They tried to get their labor and not manufacture costs as cheap as possible, knowing that someone's going to only put a couple hundred rounds through it and it'll last.
Yeah, they'll absorb the loss of repairing one that fails, but they also risk having defective guns that could harm people in lawsuits and liability and stuff like that. So I don't know, but then I'm thinking of like Riley Defense, where they've only had a couple cycles of revisions, and now they make a solid rifle. So Squib, I see what you're saying. They really could do these things, and that's why I really do think that PSA is probably going to come out with a Saiga compatible, because mags are readily available for them, version of an AK pattern 12-gauge.
And if they do, and somebody else gets a clue, and they make theirs, and you've got 2 or 3 companies, maybe even more, making these, you're going to see them competitively priced, or you're going to see some diversity as far as the options they come with right out of the box. Mm-hmm. Fulton Armory can charge as much for their brand new M1 Garand as I guess you would say an antique one, an authentic one. And they've got the quality to match, but they can do that because they're the only game in town. Who else is making replica M1 Garands? Nobody.
And they're charging a price that they're able to provide a quality firearm, but still make the profit they need to keep themselves afloat, And I think that's... No? You think that maybe they're a little overpriced because they can be?
There are companies that charge a lot for their stuff because they can. That's the reason they do it. And poor business practices. I'll give you a good example. Bighorn Armory. They make a fantastic gun. And they make a gun that it comes with everything. Right? But the price they charge is crazy. They can get away with it because nobody's going to compete with them. Even Henry, with their mass production and everything, they should be competing with them or not. Bighorn Armory refuses to run like a company that could crank these things out with the same quality all day long and bring the price way down so everybody's going to go out and buy them. They don't look at volume sales versus they're looking at the and if it's your company, do what you want. If you want to make small batches and charge a lot and only so many people are going to spend that sort of money, that's what you're going to do, and you're going to make money. At the end of the day, you're laughing all the way to the bank.
Here's the thing.
If you're selling 50,000 or 100,000 units a year at a more affordable price, your overall profits are going to skyrocket because of the volume. That's kind of why the auto industry kind of runs the way it does. And people can talk about the quality of cars. That's a whole separate kind of thing. But literally, there are companies that say, we're not going to take the bid on this car part or this car because we're only going to sell 10,000 units a year. You're not going to make any money off that unless you're charging Lamborghini prices. You see what I mean?
Here's the thing, like you're saying, like what you're saying about Bighorn Armory, and what they do is, they get you on all, and they offer a highly customized lever gun. You look at the list of options. It's like buying a car. They literally have 20 things they will do to it for you, which pushes the price point up, and you could jack it up to thousands and thousands of dollars. If you don't believe me, go look. But now I'm looking at a company like Black Rain Ordnance, which was kind of funny because during the pandemic, when we couldn't find guns and guns were sold out everywhere, Black Rain Ordnance, which usually sells a fairly upper mid-price AR-15, they started releasing a basic carbine that was like $650. It was on the shelves at Shields, and they were selling like hotcakes, mainly because, well, for one thing, it was one of the few ARs you could actually get. And for a second, it was the same price as a Ruger, AR or some of these other brands that they were selling it. And it's like brand recognition. Somebody who's a fan of Black Rain Ordnance, it's like, I can get a Black Rain Ordnance for $600. I don't have to spend $1,000. Granted, you're not getting the same customized gun that you're getting, but it's the brand, and people bought it, and they were selling like hotcakes. So like for Bighorn Armory, maybe to offer a more standard entry grade lever gun, they would sell. If they could go under $800, they would sell, because, well, that's the entry price of the Henry's, $800. Marlin 336s, until Ruger releases them, which I guarantee they're probably going to MSRP at $900 or $1,000. Ruger 336s on Gunbroker now are going for $800, $1,000, $1,200. It doesn't matter if they're jam stamped or not. So let's get. Okay, we got Rossi. Rossi's are $650, $700, right? Somewhere around there, right? For
the Rossi's are going for $800 now. They should.
Does Rossi even do a 30-30? That's a stupid question. Do they just do pistol caliber lever guns?
Yeah, I really want
their M92. What's that?
Their M92 I really want, but it used to be a $400, $450 gun, and they're going for $800, $900 now.
So what we need is a company like Bighorn Armory to come out with just call it like the Frontier series, just a standard model that's like $699, and you would sell them, because for one thing, Henrys aren't always on the shelf in my neck of the woods, and two, when they have them, they're $900 guns when I can buy them locally, and they're selling them for MSRP. I paid $800 for my octagonal barrel 30-30, and I ordered it. It was during the pandemic when I bought it. I got a good deal on it, but now that gun's $1,000, $1,200. So I think a lot of these companies are really missing the boat on hitting a market for people that want a certain pattern of gun, and they're just not meeting that demand.
These guys want to keep making these in a tin shack on the side of a hill in Montana somewhere. They're not interested in building a factory and doing that. Like DSA, they charge a lot for their ARs and their FALs, right? Well, they decided, hey, let's make a basic entry-level FA. It's still kind of pricey. It doesn't have some of the features as their FAL clones, right? But if you want to get one and then later either upgrade it or you just want to get into it.
Was this, you said DS Arms?
DS.
They have like a patrol carbine or something that's like
$899 or something like that. Their least expensive one, which is still pricey for it's around $1,000.
Yeah,
but you should see the price of some of their other ones. Now, there's a reason you pay that much. One is how many people are making brand new production FALs in America, right? The other thing is they do make a high quality product. However, I think they after a while they recognize that, hey, if we don't do something, we're not going to build our customer base. If we don't do something, we're not going to compete. And certain companies, if they don't want to do that, that's their business. They're a private business. They can do what they want. But I think it's a bad business. Yeah. It's a bad business practice. It really is. Yeah. I like the idea of the entry level, because that's what the auto industry does. Once again, going back to big business that's been around for a long time, that makes billions upon billions, is your first car is your entry level, inexpensive, cheap car. And that might get you hooked on the brand, or that might just get you into the dealer more, or whatever it is. So if these companies that are making these clones are doing it to compete, that's one thing. But if they're just pumping out junk, they're pumping out junk. That's not what anybody wants. But if they're trying to build their company up, or they're trying to build their customer base. There's a way to do that. And I think that if an American company wants to make an AK pattern shotgun, there is a market for it. And I think if it sells, you're going to see competition.
You showed at SHOT Show, there will be a list to buy, because everything PSA has ever released has always sold out. Like the first 6 months, gone instantly.
And like not
there's
every
another
company.
There's another thought on this too. It could be a small manufacturer needing to put out a very high quality, low number to get that name, that oh my God, this company it's a high dollar, good, great quality, whatever. As that company starting to refine their manufacturing process to eventually go and get into a bigger manufacturing, and then all of a sudden they come out and go, okay, our $1,000 whatever firearm is now $800. People are going to be like, oh crap, I want to save $200 on this great gun because it already has name recognition.
Mm-hmm. And some of those small companies just want to remain small companies. Maybe their passion is making guns, and they want to become a boutique brand. They don't want to be mass manufactured. They can control their quality, that kind of stuff. There's something to be said for that too. Not everybody wants to. I mean, I'm sure they want to make money, but not everybody wants to become Ruger. Everybody wants to become Smith & Wesson.
And I can appreciate that defense, Dad, because this is America, a capitalist society, and I think that they have the right to run the company the way they want to. I'm not being critical of their individualism. What I'm being critical of is they're probably not going to get me as a customer. I mean, don't get me wrong. One of these lottery tickets,
you don't want to spend $6 grand on a lever gun. So
one of these lottery tickets cashes in. I'll fly all you guys out to the ranch, and we can shoot, $5,000 guns all day long, right? But until that happens, everybody has their set limit. Like some people won't buy a gun over $200. Some people won't buy a gun unless it has M&P stamped in it. Some people won't buy a gun over $1,000. Whatever it is, but. When you're
some of us won't buy a gun under $1,000,
right? Or you won't buy a gun, and that's just it, though. I look at stuff from do you want your company to survive? Do you want your name to get out there? You want this, and you can. I mean, Wilson Combat waves Wilson Combat around. Everybody's like, they're so great, and it's like, no. So if they want to stay small, they can stay small. There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't see that as smart business sense, though.
Well, so kind of like what you said. Like you said, oh, if it's not this, I won't buy it. You may not be in their target market. Just like Ferrari and Ford, yes, they both make vehicles, but their target market is not the same person. So it depends on who they're targeting. They may not be targeting you or me. They may be targeting someone else, and that's perfectly fine.
We guys, I do need to wrap it up, unfortunately. So we'll go ahead and finish up with Savage Lee's comment.
We need to go another hour.
We can't. We can't. I'm not the biggest football fan, but I am invited to watch the Husker game. So we're gonna have to wrap this one up. So I know I'm putting sports ball in front of you guys, but it's more about hanging out with friends, and so that's the idea. But Savage Lee, I'm being honest with you. Savage Lee, my content. What?
Hanging out with friends, dude. So that's not what you're doing right now. I see how it is.
I've got friends that moved from out of state, and they invited me to have some good friends and bonding time. Yeah.
Is there a lady that you're interested at this gathering? If
no
so,
comment.
Totally
No comment. There could be.
Saw right through that, right between the lines.
There could be two.
Yeah, go Trav.
There could be two.
You guys like what?
There could be two.
If there's two,
I love you guys like brothers. Okay, I do. But I've got to have some time out. I've got to.
Defense dad is feeling sick. He can't go to work. Travis, need a wingman.
Tony, when did Travis get friends? No, I've got a good friend of mine and his family moved here from Texas. They're fanatical sports fans, right? They watch football all the time, and they just say, hey, why don't you come over and have a few burgers and brats, and I'm like, okay, we can do that. So let me get to Savage.
And by the way, my wife's new friend is over.
So Savage Lee says, pull the trigger on that thumbs up. I just found this coming across the feed for the first time. You mean my podcast actually gets pushed out there to people? It's actually recommended on the algorithm? Look at the view count. You wouldn't guess that. All right. Lots of fellow gun nuts out there on screw tubes. So Savage Lee, welcome to the channel. Just understand, Savage Lee, sometimes we have a tendency to bird walk away from the topic. Like right now we're hovering about sports, which most of us don't really care about anyway, but and coffee and stuff like that. But that's just how we roll here. So, all right, let's go ahead and let everybody have their final.
That's how you roll.
let's let everybody. Foos, I'm starting with you. Anything you want to say before we go?
No. The reason I was late is I spent the night over at my woman's house, so I totally get it. But no, I'm heading.
And you're ripping on me. Okay, I see how it is. Let me run this. Put us three in charge of getting this thing going while you're just moseying on over, getting your Chick-fil-A for breakfast before you join us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then now I'm going to the range. So.
All right, there you go. Yes. Yeah. All right.
Just sports. Like I shoot USPSA mainly. I mean, I bought a Glock recently because I'd realized I didn't have a quote unquote duty gun because everything's been, sporterized as far. Well, not sporterized, but everything's been in the past 10 years or so has been towards that gaming world. So.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
You guys, make sure you check out Foos's channel. Lots of good stuff over there. You can watch the man just rocking that CZ, just making it bark off around here and there, and as he competes and wins. So just remember your friends, Foos. Remember your Foos. I'll be happy.
It better be more than that every now and again, because
I'll clean your pistols any day. Foos, I can be your wingman any day. Okay.
No, you could be my cleaner any day.
Absolutely.
You need to clean my guns.
Sure, I'll make videos on it. That's what I do. I love it.
Your guns would fall apart and disintegrate at this point if you actually cleaned them.
I removed the carbon and there's nothing left.
They're held together with carbon at this point.
The cleanse oil had a weird effect on the gun. There's like holes in it's ported now. Lightning cuts. Yeah.
I mean that C308 that you bought from me.
Dude, that's a beast, man. That I did find good pure steel below the 3 inches of carbon that it took 4 cans of Otis 085 wipes to bring back to pristine condition. But you know what? She's well broken in now, so that's what's important. So
yeah. Well, I mean, on that gun I used grease, not oil.
Well, this was just to get the muck off and then to run the lube. Yeah, we get out the silicone grease for that. So the high temp grease. All right, Defense Dad, anything you want to say before we go?
No, I think it was a good conversation. If you want to check my stuff out, I'm back making videos now, so that's about it.
And then Defense Dad, answer your question you posted out there in the chat. I'm going to see what I can do for you, brother.
All right.
There's a possibility. There's always a possibility. So. All right. Make sure you check out the Defense Dad channel. Check out his latest video. What's that, Foos?
Travis's throwaways, Defense Dad's #1.
What? No, not at all. Not at all.
I'm just saying, if there's another cute girl,
look at Outcast.
It's the last fiscal day of the month.
I'm basically going for the friends and food. The game is going to be more of a distraction. So I just want to get that out there because I am the world's worst sports fan. I don't have time to follow sports. I generally don't. I do support the local team when the game's on. I mean, but I'm not going to really go out of my way. But still, I'd rather watch local high school sports competitions because those kids are really putting it out there. So than the college stuff. So
is she a redhead, a brunette, or a blonde?
Well,
kind of a brownish red. What are you stalking? You stalking now? Are you trying to block already, Defense Dad? Are you blocking on me? Is that? Nah, I'm messing with you. Let's keep things rolling here. Single shot. Anything you want to say before you go?
Oh, this is entertaining this morning.
Oh, it's turned into a complete train wreck. What a dumpster fire. But anyway, go ahead, single shot. That usually doesn't happen for you guys. We usually keep it classy, gentlemen. All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Wait, we're not gentlemen. Are you talking about your other friends again?
We're not clones. We're real men. All right. That's the moral of the story for today. Don't, just be a real man. Don't be a clone. So, the single shot. Yeah. Anything we say before we go?
Oh, not much. Check out the channels, I guess. And I'm headed home. I just finished fueling here in New Hampshire, so I'm just waiting to get my fuel receipt and then go out and deliver this thing. Get it off the truck so I can go home.
There you go. All right, get her done, man. Rest up. Enjoy some trigger time with your brother at the range, and take it easy. We'll see you next week, dude.
All right. Thanks for the invite, buddy.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
All right, Kingpin. Anything you want to say on this whole discussion? Really, Kingpin, I kind of rely on you to kind of wrangle us back into order, but I see you're just watching this train wreck happen. But Kingpin, anything you want to say?
Oh man, good times, good conversation. Thanks to everybody for showing up today, and everybody have a good day.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, intro comment there. What's that?
So even originals break, last time I was out shooting, I sheared the hook off my extractor. So even originals break.
Yeah. I mean, we're not saying that. We're not saying that it's never best to just buy the original because they can have their flaws. The guns are tools. Tools fail. Parts wear out. Parts crack and break and bend. That's the reality of life. So again, the whole discussion is, maybe try these things, but go into them with kind of an open mind and do your research before you do buy, because you don't know what you get yourself into. So yeah.
That's my second extractor that's failed in a calendar year.
From CZ, actual CZ parts.
Yeah.
You need to contact them about that. They need to beef up their metallurgy.
Well, that gun has a lot of major ammo.
No excuse. No excuse. It should handle more than 50. It should do more than 50,000 rounds a year before that extractor fails. Sure, my Sky CPX2 only made it to 1,000, but still,
Oh, that's quality engineering if your Sky made it that far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised it made it that far.
Well, I mean, I had to super glue in the frame pins, and it took a barrel and a
17
recoil spring replacement. So yeah. All right, Bitter Taxpayer. Anything you want to say before we go?
Yeah, thanks for letting me know about college football today. I didn't even realize. Hey,
it's Northwestern. Isn't that a Michigan team? Aren't they? Is Northwestern a Michigan team, or are they Illinois?
They're Illinois. No, I'll be watching UNLV at 3:30. So.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, enjoying cold one or something.
Or not hot coffee, right?
Yeah, I got to finish this coffee review, and somebody's got a hot mic again. I got to finish this coffee review, and I've got to try to get this unboxing done. I've got a couple stacks of boxes down there, but if I can get at least one unboxing done today. Yeah. So thanks for the invite. Good show, good topic. Some people are going to leave here butthurt over the use of the word clone. I think it's good that we discussed our impressions of it, and that's our
define it because I mean, when Kingpin said the Ruger SR 1911 is not a clone, it's like yes, it is, and it's like no, it's really not, but sort of, So
I'm glad that he expressed his opinion though, because I kind of like the different perspective.
That's why I say patterned gun, because it's sort of the design, Yeah.
Yeah, no, unless it's a Colt 1911, it's either a copy or a clone.
Copy is a good word to use too. A similar. I always say pattern because pattern's like form factor, manual of arms, but not necessarily identical. So, all right, so guys, that's about it. Join us next week for episode number 247. I don't know what the topic is. We will post it at some point this week, but I want everybody to have fun and stay safe out there. Make sure you like and subscribe, mash that bell so you don't miss any notifications. I'll be dropping another video on Wednesday. Make sure you check out the channel. A lot of you, sometimes I'll mention I did a video, and a lot of you didn't even realize it. Go back and check my channel. I put out a video or two every week. Go back through the playlist and see what I've uploaded. There's a lot of great content out there, like the crumble cookie review.
I watched that one last night.
I had no idea I did that review.
How did I miss that one?
Well, it's got 99 views on it. I'm not surprised, but
I've been wanting a cookie since then.
The crumble cookies are unreal. If you have one in Michigan, you need to road trip. And the secret of the crumble cookie, real butter. That's where it is right there. Real butter. No.
In the video, you said opening in Lincoln soon. Has it opened yet, or
they're building one? It's going to open up, I think, around December, maybe. But the one in Omaha is already open.
All right. I don't know that I'll be there before Thunder on the Prairie, but I think that's a good side trip there for Thunder on the Prairie.
We'll send you some.
I mean, I'd rather go out there because, I mean, you guys have got shields and now this.
Oh, absolutely. That's all you need right there. That does it. Well, we got some good mom and pop gun stores. Nebraska Gun's a good place. We got to take you there. Downtown Lincoln, you'd like that. That's a fun place to go.
You got to, like you always say, you got to get off the expressway when you go to Nebraska. Otherwise,
got to go to downtown Lincoln, man. That's where it's at. Absolutely. All right, cool. What is it? Tony Orr says
Nebraska has expressways.
Look at Tony. Look at that. I saw that belly on the Revolver video. Obviously, Travis does cookies. I actually eat fairly well for the most part. I just don't exercise, so I haven't lost any weight. But I got the dad bod going on. You know what, Tony? It's a tactical muffin top, just for the record. So when we hit times of famine, which they're predicting, I'm going to thrive. So I just want to get that out there right now. So this is preparations. This is prepping.
Well,
prepping for the hunger strike, for the hunger crisis.
Depending on how this sports date goes today, he could be hitting the gym, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey guys, I got boxing gloves and a weight set. Let's do this. My reviews changed to like keto shakes and that mud water stuff we see ads for.
Welcome to jogging weights and more.
No. He's not going to hit the gym. He's just going to get his extra cardio.
Extra cardio, bro. Go paleo.
On this channel, we're going to go from dad bod to bad bod.
Bad bod.
Yeah.
Bad bod.
I'm going from tactical trash to infantry. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. All right. That's it. All right. So we're gonna enough of my problems here. Let's get this back. Let's get this.
So now on the last episode of Caliber Corner.
The live stream of the wedding, you know.
No. This is the last one because she's gonna have your next week. She's gonna have you doing this, and also on farmers markets and flea
or heirloom tomatoes next week. Heirloom tomatoes.
She finds out that he's a gun guy, and she goes, "Oh yeah, I've got a gun too." And she pulls out.
Oh no, that's a prerequisite. That comes up at the first.
Out of the purse.
That is the first thing out of my mouth. First of all, what would you like for dinner? And then, how do you feel about firearms? Okay, I'm gonna leave a 20 on the table. I want you to have fun. I've got an Uber coming for you.
Firearms question first.
That's it. Because if there's problems with it, it's a prerequisite.
You can at least get a decent meal out of it.
Tip from me, Travis.
Yeah,
don't do dinner for a first date. Do a drink.
Yeah,
because you don't want to be with the salad still coming. You're already like, oh my god, I want to go home.
Yep, he's right.
And then you're texting me from the bathroom, bro. Can you call me and tell me my house is on fire? Sure, bro. And then I call into it. Hey, I gotta go. My dog's on fire. Right? You know? Yeah. All right, enough of this.
No,
all right.
No. A really good buddy, you do that, and then they'd call back and be like, "Oh yeah, everything's perfectly fine. Enjoy yourself. Oh, stay out even longer."
So hey guys, in the words of New York Outcast this week, I want you all to have a salad this week and go buy an M&P, and you'll be good. And while you're at it, don't forget to go over to rnldisplays.com. Not a channel sponsor, but somebody that has contributed to the channel, where we have this fantastic selection of fine display furniture for your AR pattern firearm. Also, just for the record, a Century C308 will balance on this. And yes, all you fanatics out there, they do sell Glock compatible stands too. So get over to rnldisplays.com. And I think, what was it, New York Outcast? If you buy 3 stands, you get a free salad. Is that what it is? You buy any? No, I'm just joking. Okay, guys, I want you to have fun. I want you to be safe. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to everybody next week. So shout out to New York Outcast, DKTK, E-Rock in the house, Scott79 watching, Tony York, Patriot in the Dark, MZ, Bitter Taxpayer, New Jersey Outcast is out there, William Trader, who else is watching? Kingpin, Savagely, welcome to the channel, brother, or sister, I have no idea. Squiblift is out there, Thomas Reeves. We had some tacos and French fries earlier. I'm sure I'm going to miss a few people, but we're trying to wrap this one up, people. Let's see. There's Mountain View's out there today too. M. Gabriel joining in early on. Otherwise, I think that's about it. So you guys take care, have fun, be safe. And, dude, I'm gonna get copyright strike. No. God. And if anything, it's gonna be in Vegas, right? I learned the first time.
You need to point her to this chat, like within the
What's
first
wrong?
month.
The broadcast seems to be